we are going to cover basic visibility to players. On the left side, we have the GM client. On the right side, we have the player client. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a brief encounter. We're going to put a warg. We're going to drop him here into the into the actual player's view, so that way they can see what's going on. So now, once you've done that, you notice that it's shown up in the active roster, but it has not shown up on the player side until you hit broadcast. This will push it through to the players. That way they can see that the warg is actually coming up on them. Now, we'll give another situation. Say that you're dealing with a magic user or a caster and they decide to cast invisibility. You will right click on the token, you will go to alter, visibility, and you will left click on invisible. It kind of dulls out the token a little bit, and you push broadcast. It has disappeared from the active or even passive roster. It is no longer visible to any of the players. Another pro tip is this: if you have a player that actually goes invisible, it will show up like this for them, so it is not invisible for them. So that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind, is that even though it's disappeared for the rest of the players, it still shows up as a ghostly visage of a token for the player. Now, if you want them to reappear, especially if you have no fog of war, you can right click, go into alter, go into visibility, go visible, and then broadcast that, and then it will re-show up on this side. Now, I do not like using visible as an option. I like to do alter, visibility, and dynamic. When you do dynamic, it will keep in mind the fog of war for later on. If you choose visible, he will actually appear on top of your fog of war, and the players will go, hey, what's that over there? And you'll kind of be embarrassed and you've tipped your hand, and you just want to make sure that you use dynamic. Visible is an option, a really good option if you don't have any fog of war, but dynamic's the better one out of the three. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about player ownership. Now, how you assign ownership is you can, as the GM, you can right click on it and go to alter and owner. Now there's a shortcut key of O. You can left click on that, and notice how here it says is currently owned by player Vaneth. So in other words, since this radio button is click on Vaneth, this player side client actually has full control over this token. Now I can revoke that by actually left clicking on GM Chris and clicking OK. Now if I go over here to the game log, it says, hey, I no longer own this. So that's something to keep in mind, is you have to make sure that the player owns that token in order for them to move it around. Now notice, if I try moving any of these tokens around, nothing happens. In fact, I double click on it, it only shows me what their story or description is here, and that's about it. Oh, but I can look at the pretty token. Like I can actually like zoom it out by left clicking on the left and right arrows, and that will minimize or expand out the picture of the token in the actual mini. Now, I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to alter and go to owner and reassign it. Now in the game log, which I conveniently closed, I'll say, hey, I own this creature now. If I double click on it, now, oh, look at that. I've got stats, I've got story, I got effects, I got abilities. If you look at their stats, hey, it's like, hey, I've got this many hit points, I'm a half orc. Oh, look, I'm an evil rogue, you know, so on and so forth. If you right click on it and go to view, or you can even press the E key, it will give you the full stats of the creature, as well as the attacks, traits, items, skills, so on and so forth. And you click X, and that will get you. But like I said, you go back to this one, I can't really see anything at all. So that concludes player ownership.